You just graduated a coding bootcamp? That is awesome. Congratulations. I know it's easy for a lot of people to start getting really stressed out and feel like the pressure's on for the job search, and sure, that might be part of reality, but this is a really exciting time. Honestly, I am so excited for you. I am proud of you, and I hope you are proud of yourself, because if you went to something like a full stack program, at this point, you honestly have the basics in place so you can take an idea for a project and put it into reality.
You're a wizard, Harry.
My tips for today are to really set you up for success as you switch over from a really structured bootcamp schedule where a lot of your time is planned out for you to a much more build your own day, build your own adventure. At this point, it's up to you to structure your day in a way that makes sense and is enjoyable for you to get you to the software developer job that you want. Tip number 1, if you can keep the momentum going, do it. The body in motion stays in motion. It's going to be easier for you coming from this program of yours to maybe continue at the same pace or take your foot off the gas just a little bit, but continue in motion, continue learning, continue spending time on the activities that are going to get you to the job that you want instead of taking some time off and then needing to build back up to this point where you were in the past. There are studies out there that prove our brains are lazy. Our brains really try to just conserve as much energy as they can. That's why we don't love to go and exercise if we aren't already in that habit. And it's why it can be hard to start up a task that we know is going to be difficult. So if you're in that habit of building something every single day, keep going. Keep waking up in the morning, going to your computer, spending time at your computer to build and to start applying places. Tip number 2 might be a little bit counterintuitive right after tip number 1, but if you are severely burnt out, take some time off. It's not fun to push through if you are burnt out of code. You just spent a ton of time over the past couple of weeks coding, way more than you probably had before. And I think it is very important to find a good balance. Find a way to progress, but in a healthy manner. And if you're burnt out, you need some time to recover from that burnout. Spend a good week of just doing nothing but staying in bed and watching Netflix or Hulu or a really good YouTube channel. Sometimes getting bored is the best way for us to want to get back to work again. So let yourself get bored. If this is the strategy you're going with, set a day in the future when you're going to start working again, and do not let yourself work until that point in time. Don't work, but let yourself visualize yourself in the future, maybe a year from now. Picture yourself in this job that you have worked so hard to get. Picture how amazing your coworkers are and how excited you are to get up and go to work every single morning. Build up that excitement again that got you to sign up for the boot camp in the first place. As great as it is to have a little bit of momentum behind you, sometimes you do just need a break. So give yourself that break if it's necessary and come back that much more refreshed and ready to really hit the ground running. Tip number 3, set aside a couple of hours to really think about how you are going to stay motivated and keep that thick skin that's going to be necessary as you go through interviews. A job search process right out of a boot camp is going to have a lot of bumps in the road. You're probably going to go to a lot of interviews, and I mean, we've all bombed interviews, and it's never fun. So if you find yourself in that situation where you're presented with a problem and you just have no idea how you're going to solve it, we've been there. I've been there. So many devs out there have been there. And make sure that you have a way beforehand to really shake it off and recognize what it is you learned from it. Find good ways to get yourself right back out there and try again. Maybe you'll find an inspirational book that you can just keep reading a couple of pages even when you feel like crap. Maybe you have a YouTube channel that has really great inspirational content. But this tip is really encouraging you to get that plan into place before you have a setback so that you know what you're going to turn to to get you back on track. Tip number 4 is to get a schedule in place. I have dedicated an entire video to how I would break down all of the different tasks that you have to juggle when you're searching for a job. So feel free to check that out, and you don't have to follow my plan to a T, but get a feel for how much time I think you should be spending on each portion of your job search. I like to have the schedule planned out because going onto this phase of your job search after having gone through a program where things are likely very structured, this is a very ambiguous time. You don't probably have much structure, so I liked to have a way to reduce that ambiguity and just make things a little bit more focused. Creating these different goals for every day. It helps you gauge if you are spending the required amount of time on each different section of this job search that you will need to spend in order to get your first job. And finally, my tip number 5 is every single day, identify 1 to 3 different goals of yours that you want to accomplish throughout the day. Make sure they are very, very small and specific enough so that you know when you have accomplished it. I like my goals to be action items instead of like spend X amount of time on this thing. If I'm working on an app, I like it to be implementing this new button on a page. Or if I'm trying to get something set up locally, get it to a point where I can run an app locally on my machine before the end of the day. Breaking down large tasks into smaller, more achievable chunks is pretty much the definition of being a software developer. It is so important in my job. I am constantly working with my team on breaking these features down into tickets that would result in the feature being completed. Once I'm working on a ticket for my day, I have to think about how am I going to break that into smaller steps to be able to complete that ticket. So this is a really important skill. The more you practice it, the better you're going to be at it. And it's going to help prevent you from being overwhelmed if you only have to focus on a really, really small task at a time. On days when I'm particularly unmotivated, I can hear myself in my head. I swear I'm not crazy, but I can hear the coaching basically saying, come on, just one last task, come on, before you finish for the day, get this done. And I always know that I'm gonna feel so much better if I just go ahead and do it versus pushing it off for the next day. And honestly, my chances go up that I'm not going to get to it that day and just kind of keep pushing it off for the future if I didn't get it completed the first time around. So if you've enjoyed this video and want to hear the tips that I mentioned about how I would break down my day if I were trying to juggle all of the different tasks that exist in the job search for a job in tech, check out this video right here.